Today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Legacy of Dragonholt. Quick note, I am using a slightly different setting on my mic today, so I'm hoping it's better and not worse. I know it's been kind of increasingly bad lately, so thanks for bearing with me with that. Legacy of Dragonholt. I did the character creation process and played through the first scenario this past weekend. So this is as it says on the box, a cooperative narrative game, and narrative, heavy on the narrative. There is a ton of written text in this book, and it's a little bit like the Choose Your Own Adventure books of old, but leveled up to modern game design. There are two elements I want to discuss in brief today. One is the element of time used in this game. At certain times, you'll make a choice, and I don't want to give any actual examples. It's light on spoilers, but I don't want to spoil anything from you. So say you're walking through the village. There is a village scenario. I haven't gotten to that one yet. But say you're walking through the village, and you might have a choice to take a short path or a long path up the hill to the cathedral on the hill. And after you make that choice and you read the next passage, it might say time passes. And when it says that, you mark off one time on your sheet. Later on, you might encounter something else that says, if X amount of time has passed, do this. And if X amount of time hasn't passed, do this instead, or these are your options. So I really like how the game makes the world feel like it's operating on its own, and you are making choices within that world. So like if someone in the world always stops by the cathedral at noon every day, the game knows, based on the time that you've spent to actually get to that cathedral, whether or not that person is still going to be there by the time you get there. So it adds this really interesting layer of player choices in the game because you know time is at stake. You don't just have all the time in the world to wander around and do stuff. You might be missing out on certain things if you take too long, or if you don't take long enough, you might miss out on something that is going to be there at a certain time. I really like that. The other element of this game that I really enjoyed is that the vast majority of decisions in the game are made using real-world logic. I'll try to give it another example that isn't actually a spoiler. So my village example was like take a short path over to like the inn or go up to the cathedral on the hill. And let's say on the way to the cathedral on the hill, you see a throng of people gathered ahead on the road. You get to decide, do I continue through that throng of people or do I take another route? Do I sneak through this building over here? And the game, when it presents you with these choices, it really lets you use real world logic, like using the information that you would have if you look up a hill and see a bunch of people on the road versus walking through a shop that you don't really know, but it would avoid the throng of people. What do you do? And based on previous choices you made, you might actually have learned about what that throng of people is if you had made a previous choice, or maybe you don't know. So just like again in the real world, if you read the paper that day, you might know that there's a rally going on right in front of the cathedral. But if you didn't choose to read the paper, if you didn't choose to spend your time that way, you wouldn't know what that throng of people is. This happened a number of times in our first scenario where we made real world choices based on the information given to us. And it felt great. It really felt immersive, and I applaud the designers for what they were able to do with this. The one caveat that I would add is that after making those choices, you don't really know what the other choices would have been, or you don't know if you really made the correct choice. The game doesn't really tell you how you did. I don't want to give anything away here, but there were certain times for sure where we made certain choices based on what we thought was real world logic, but the game didn't really confirm it in the end. After we made that choice, it didn't say, okay, because you did this, you were able to accomplish this, or you avoided doing this. So I kind of wish the game had a little bit more confirmed whether or not we had made, not necessarily the right choice, because it's not always black and white like that, but based on the choice we made, this is the thing that happened. And I wish the game had confirmed that a little bit more. But overall, I am really impressed by the writing, the storytelling, the interesting choices, and the element of the passage of time in Legacy of Dragonholt. And I look forward to playing future scenarios. If you've played Legacy of Dragonholt, I'd love to hear about your favorite mechanisms in the comments below. If you want to talk about spoilers, you're welcome to do so, but just block it off with spoiler text so I know it and other people know it. Maybe mention the scenario that you're about to spoil, because I've only played the first one. And if there are other narrative games that you've played, I know there are a few others that have come out in recent years, and Time Story is one of my favorite games is among them. If you have any favorite narrative mechanisms where you use real world logic or where the passage of time matters, I'd love to hear about that in the comments as well. Thanks.